What's up everybody? Today I'll be doing a tier list on every single JRPG developer in existence. Well, okay, not every single one of them, but the majority of them, the ones that I know. I'm pretty sure I'll be missing a lot of them, but the ones that I have here are 60 plus JRPG developers, and keep that in mind. I am not ranking the publishers. Some of these companies are publishers too, but I'm not ranking them because of their publishing games. I'm ranking them because of the developed games. I'm ranking them as developers. Keep that in mind, okay? So we're gonna start right now. This is Acquire. Acquire is a game company known for developing the Way of the Samurai games, the Tenchu games. Those games are not really RPGs, right? What are they RPGs? What are their JRPGs? Acquire is known for, well, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. But they're also known for Class of Heroes. They're also known for Akiba's Trip, that little, raunchy series of action RPGs. Yeah, those are the same guys. Hard to believe they are the same developers, right? Octopath Traveler and then Akiba's Trip. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of none of those series with the exception of Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. And just because of those two games, I'm gonna put this company on the A. Moving on to Alpha Dream. Rest in peace, Alpha Dream. These are the developers who made the entirety of the Mario and Luigi RPGs, from the one on the Game Boy Advance all the way to the ones on the 3DS, and then it went bankrupt apparently. I'm not really a fan of the Mario and Luigi games, but they're good games, they're a fun time, and just out of respect, I'm gonna give this company a B. Apollosoft. Apollosoft is a company that probably most of you don't know because they've only developed like 5 games in their entire career. They worked for Gonko, which owns the rights to the Ragnarok series. So Apollosoft are the developers of one of my favorite PSP JRPGs of all time, which is Ragnarok Tactics. I love that strategy RPG with a passion. I've talked about that game to death in this channel. I have recommended it in every opportunity that I can. And the other one game that they also developed is Battle Princess of Arcadias. That exclusive on the PS3 that's digital only, kind of like an Odin Sphere clone. Well, that's also one of the other better games they published. So because of those two JRPGs and because I'm a real die-hard fan of those games, this should be on the A tier. But it's still gonna be on the B because that's all they did, man. I mean, they just need more games. I could be ranking this tier list as under the classic quality over quantity, that's true, but I think when ranking a JRPG developer, quantity also kinda matters a little bit. Apollosoft goes in the B. Atlus. Atlus is my favorite JRPG developer of all time. Well, it kinda used to be Squaresoft, but we'll get to Squaresoft in a bit, before Square Enix. So Atlus, I love it to death. I'm a big die-hard Shin Megami Tensei fan. I love Persona, and I love several of their RPGs that they have developed by themselves or co-developed with other companies. Atlus is a straight S. Bandai Namco. Oh yeah. It's hard to judge because first we got Namco Tales Studio, who used to develop almost every single Tales game until Cesteria, I think, and Berseria. Those two were now developed by Bandai Namco themselves, which pretty much absorbed Namco Tales Studio. It's Bandai Namco. I mean, come on. So Bandai Namco is a straight S because I'm a die-hard Tales fan, and they've also developed a lot of other JRPGs that I'm a really big fan of. So, like Scarlet Nexus, for example, I don't know. Bandai Namco is a straight S. Brownie Brown. This is a little company that changed their name to One Up Studio, and they've been pretty much doing nothing but porting games, old games to modern consoles like the 3DS. They did a lot of ports on the 3DS, but they did develop a bunch of JRPGs, a few of them as a matter of fact. They are the developers of Magical Star Sign, which is a series, but we only gotten that particular game. It's a great turn-based RPG that I recommended a lot of times in this channel. I really like it. They also co-developed, they worked on Earthbound and Mother 3. Those games I'm not really a fan of, so I can only really judge them based on Magical Star Sign, and yeah, I mean, that's just not enough. And they barely developed any other JRPGs whatsoever. This is a C. Camelot Software Planning, creators of Shining Force alongside Climax Entertainment, which we'll get to in a bit. Camelot Software Planning created all the Shining Force games. up until Shining Force 3. They also did a pretty bad JRPG on the PS1 called Beyond the Beyond, and they also developed almost every single Mario Golf game. Anyway, those are not JRPGs, but you get the idea, right? These are great developers, and because of Shining Force and their legacy and their history, these are on the A tier. Capcom. Capcom, when it comes to JRPGs, is only known for Breath of Fire, the Breath of Fire series, and some Mega Man games, like the Mega Man Battle Network games, or the Mega Man Legends games, if you consider those as action RPGs. I kinda do. The Mega Man Battle Network series, I'm not really a big fan of. I'm starting to slowly get into them, so I can't really rank them because of that. But if I can rank them because of Breath of Fire, well, there's only been 6 games so far, and half of them are kinda bad. So, yeah. I'm not the biggest Breath of Fire fan, but I love Breath of Fire like many of you. I'm a big fan of 1, 3, and 4, especially 4. But either way, Capcom, I don't know, guys. I'm gonna give Capcom a B, because I'm not the greatest die-hard Breath of Fire fan or the Mega Man Battle Network fan. Careersoft, for those who don't know, were the creators of the Land Racer series. That little game called Warsong on the Sega Genesis, that's their creation. They were known as Team Career back then, but then they later became Careersoft. They changed their name, and they started working for Atlus and developed the Grow Lancer series, which I'm a big stupid-ass fan. And then, when they finally got fully absorbed into Atlus, they developed Devil Survivor 1 and 2, so of course Careersoft is an S. Cattle Call is a company that's... they haven't made a lot of JRPGs, but one of them is the Legend of Legacy on the 3DS, which was kinda mediocre, and then they made up with the Alliance Alive, which was a fantastic game on the 3DS, now ported to Switch, PS4, and PC. These guys also worked on a lot of the Metal Max series, but the majority of them, we never got them. They did work on Metal Max Xeno, the original version, which is the good version on PS4 and Steam. And finally we got Arc the Lad Twilight of the Spirits, which is a fantastic game, the best Arc the Lad in my opinion. And also Tsugunai Atonement, also on the PlayStation 2, a weird game, music by Yasunori Mitsuda. So Cattle Call, I don't know, I think Arc the Lad 4 and the Alliance Alive are top-notch games, but the rest are kind of like okay-ish. So I guess Cattle Call is gonna have to stay on the B. Chunsoft. Chunsoft are the creators of Dragon Quest. Many people think Enix developed them, but no, Enix just published them. They may have co-developed something here and there, but not really. Dragon Quest from 1 to 5, they were entirely by Chunsoft before they merged with Spike Chunsoft. We will also get to Spike Chunsoft today, later. But Chunsoft Dragon Quest, I mean, I'm not the biggest Dragon Quest fan, but Dragon Quest is history, man, so the least I can do is put them on the A. And now we've gotten to Climax Entertainment, the co-developers of the first Shining games, Shining in the Darkness and Shining Force, but that's about as far as they went. The majority of the credit goes to Camelot Software Planning, right? So Climax Entertainment later became a big company, also porting games to the Nintendo DS and stuff like that. But they also worked on this little game called Landstalker on the Sega Genesis. And then later, some of the employees went on to create another company that I'm gonna be ranking today as well. But that's Climax Entertainment as JRPG developers. Like I said, some of these companies have made a lot of great games, but we're talking about their JRPGs, okay? And with that in mind, Climax Entertainment, it's a C. Moving on to Compile Heart. Okay. This is gonna be controversial because I know a lot of you hate their guts, but I also know a lot of you love this company because of the fan service. These are the creators of the Hyperdimension Neptunia games, where they initially were just Compile, and they did a lot of great shoot-em-ups in the early 90s, but then they became Compile Heart and partnered with Idea Factory. And Compile Heart for their first years, I get it, I'm not a fan of Hyperdimension Neptunia, I know a lot of you aren't either, I don't like those games. And then they started making other games, like for example Fairy Fencer F, until eventually they started earning more and more of my respect with games like Dragon Star Varnir, which was kind of like not that great, but good nonetheless. But then they made the Mary Skelter trilogy, and especially the Death End Request 1 and 2 games. Ah, man, I'm gonna put them on the A. That's it. Argue all you want about it in the comments. Moving on to CyberConnect 2. CyberConnect 2 are the developers and creators of the Dot Hack series. Those first 4 games on the PS2, and then the Dot Hack GU trilogy, which I'm a freaking diehard fan of. Remastered on Switch and PS4, and then the Soda 2 Robo games, Tail Concerto on the PS1, and now Fuga Melodies of Steel 1 and 2. These guys are an S. Flight Plan no longer exists. This is a defunct company who created the Summon Night series. We only got 5 and 6, and Swordcraft Story 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Advance. 5 and 6 were not developed by these guys. Yeah, but Swordcraft Story 1 and 2 were developed by them. And also this little gem that I've never covered in this channel, I swear, never heard of it, called Eternal Poison on the PS2. Ever heard of it? These are the developers. Anyway, so I'm a diehard fan of Eternal Poison, but that's the only game of this company that I'm a diehard fan of. Summon Night, Swordcraft Story 1 and 2 are great games, but they aren't, like A or S tiers, so... Eternal Poison, I'm so sorry, but Flight Plan goes to the B. From Software, I'm not a fan. I don't like the Souls series. I kinda like Bloodborne, but that's as far as I go with the Souls series. I like Enchanted Arms on the PS3 and 360. Believe it or not, these are the developers. I like Lost Kingdoms, an action RPG with cards, that I've recommended a lot of times here in this channel on the GameCube. Amazing game. But they also developed the King's Field series, which I'm definitely not a fan of. Shadow Tower is a piece of... From Software, I don't know, guys. This is my tier list. If you're a fan of From Software, make your own tier list and put them on the S. To me, From Software is a C. Furyu. Furyu is actually more of a publisher than anything. They have helped several different companies whose JRPGs they have published. Well, because they did co-develop several JRPGs with other companies, even though most of the development was done by companies like Lancarse, for example, or Cattle Call even. Furyu is just gonna have to be on the C. If I was ranking them based on publishing games, probably Furyu would be on the A, believe it or not. But as a developer of JRPGs, nah. Game Arts, Grandia, Lunar, those are their 2 IPs, their 2 iconic JRPG series that influenced a lot of modern JRPGs, especially Lunar, so these guys deserve a lot of credit. I'm not the biggest diehard fan of Grandia or Lunar, but I'm a fan nonetheless, Grandia 3 being my favorite of these guys, but of course Game Arts is gonna have to be on the A. Amazing developers. Game Freak are the developers of Pokemon. Not a fan of Pokemon, out of respect, I'm gonna put them on the C. The C tier is not really a bad tier, it's just more of the I don't really care for tier. That's it, take no offense. Game Republic, it's another defunct company. They developed this great action RPG called Folklore on the PS3. Hidden gem exclusive to it. They also developed this turn-based RPG called Brave Story. But apart from that, they did other games that are not RPGs, and to be completely honest, based on Folklore and Brave Story, which are great games, but not that super freaking great, I can't rank Game Republic higher than B. Let's give them a B. Gust, the developers of the Atelier series, the developers of Art Tonelico, the developers of, you guys know this company already, I made a top 10 based on these guys, top 10 best Gust JRPGs. Anyway, these guys are an A. Moving on to HAL Laboratory. Okay, so who the hell are these guys? Well, they are the developers of all the Kirby games, that's right. What are their JRPGs? Well, the Earthbound series, and that's about it. Oh, well, they did Arcana on the SNES, which is pretty bad. Apart from that, they're mostly known for the Kirby games and the Earthbound series, but I'm not a fan of Earthbound or Mother 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't even know how many are there. These guys are a C. Hitmaker is the worst JRPG developer in the entire tier list of today. They made Dragoneer's Aria on the PSP, Blade Dancer also on PSP, Last Rebellion on PS3, and A Witch's Tale on the Nintendo DS. Those are the 4 that I've played. Not a single one of them stands out, and Dragoneer's Aria and Blade Dancer are pretty freaking bad, so Hitmaker is the first D on this tier list. Idea Factory. Well, keep in mind that Idea Factory also co-developed a lot of JRPGs from Compile Heart, but before they acquired that company, they used to develop a lot of PSP games. I've covered a lot of times games like Spectral Souls, Blazing Souls, games like that, the Generation of Chaos series, Pandora's Reflection being one of my favorites, digital only sadly. But yeah, Idea Factory used to be this company that was kind of like the underdog, low budgety company creating strategy JRPGs most likely, and then they moved on in the big world, with the Hyperdimension Neptunia series and the Compile Heart universe. So I'd like to rank Idea Factory based on the games they developed before Compile Heart, and I'm gonna give these guys an A because of all the effort and all the influence. Image Epoch is a defunct company. They created the infamous Time and Eternity, unfortunately, which is the game that pretty much led to their bankruptcy. But they also did a lot of great games. They did Arc Rise Fantasia on the Wii, which is a phenomenal game. Stellar Glow, a strategy RPG on the 3DS, also pretty good. The Luminous Arc series, and one of my personal favorites, Fate Extra on the PSP. So they can be on the S, but they're definitely going straight to the A. Intelligent Systems are the creators of Fire Emblem. You guys know me, I'm a die-hard Fire Emblem fan. I love everything these guys have done with Fire Emblem. Well, maybe not except Fates, but I still like Fates, what the hell. And they also created the Paper Mario series. Intelligent Systems is an S. Japan Studio. My problem with Japan Studio is the same as Furyu. They are mostly, they aren't publishers. That was Sony. Japan Studio is pretty much Sony's development studio, and they developed a lot of games, but every single JRPG in existence, with the exception of The Legend of Dragoon, has been developed by someone else. Japan Studio just kinda helped here and there in some areas here and there, and that's it. The Legend of Dragoon is the only one that's pretty much straightly credited to them. All the others are developed by other companies, even in Wikipedia. I don't know why Japan Studio is in this tier list, but it's there because of The Legend of Dragoon, and that's a C. Dragoon is a great game, but just because of The Legend of Dragoon I can't rank these guys higher. Kadokawa Games. Okay, Kadokawa Games is a little bit like Furyu, mostly publishing JRPGs, but they have developed several of them. One of the first one that comes to my mind is God Wars Future Past. But anyway, Kadokawa Games is a company that's been there since freaking forever. I guess they also remade Land Greaser 1 and 2 on the Switch and PS4. But I don't know, man. Most of their games are kind of like weird, obscure, not very successful. And like I said, it's like Furyu. Most of their games have been co-developed by somebody else. Kadokawa Games, I'm still gonna put them on the B because of their history. Okay, so we got Koei here. I should be ranking Koei and Tecmo together because they are one company nowadays, but ever since they merged, almost every single JRPG they've done has been developed by Omega Force or other companies that we'll see today. Ghost is one of them actually. But separately, they used to develop several JRPGs. Koei did a lot of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, not exactly RPGs, more like strategy games. They also developed the Uncharted Water series, which are also kind of like, I'm not sure if they're RPGs or not. That's my problem with Koei. In the Way of the Ninja is pretty bad on the Super Nintendo. But yeah, Koei is a lot of history, even though they weren't really a company known for their JRPGs. So Koei, as a JRPG developer, is going to the C. Konami. Konami. It should be on the D because it's one of the worst video game companies nowadays. But keep in mind, I'm ranking Konami when they used to be cool, when they used to develop a lot of JRPGs, specifically the Suikoden series, which is my favorite series of all time, my favorite video game series of all time. They also developed Vandal Hearts. So keep in mind, I'm gonna rank Konami on the S because of Suikoden and because of the developers. That's it. Not the company that became after that, but the company that once was one of the best video game companies of all time. This L stands for Lancarse. What is Lancarse? Lancarse is one of those companies that has been published by Furyu and companies like that. They developed Lost Dimension. I'm a big fan of that game. Zanki Zero on the PS4, good game, pretty weird, but good nonetheless. They also developed the Diofield Chronicle, in the company of Square Enix. And they also developed Monarch, which turned out to be a freaking mess. But still, Monarch had a lot of potential. I love these guys. I love Lan Carsen. They're starting to get there. They're kind of like Idea Factory, like an underdog, you know. And I don't know, I'm very fond of these guys. I love Lan Carsen guys. I'm gonna put them on the A. Oh yeah. Level 5 developed the Dark Cloud 1 and 2 games, Rogue Galaxy, Jeanne d'Arc, and then the Ni no Kuni games, and then White Knight Chronicles, and they're still going with Professor Layton, which is not a JRPG, but yeah, these guys are an A. Marvelous Entertainment, known nowadays as Marvelous AQL or whatever, these guys are like Furio too. They publish a lot of their games, but they also developed a bunch of games that I'm a big fan of. You know, Lord of Magna Maiden Heaven on the 3DS. That's a pretty unique strategy RPG that I've recommended a few times in this channel. One of my personal favorites on the system. Some Harvest Moon games, some Story of Seasons games, but these guys are mostly publishers. So, once again, well, they've done a lot of modern games of the past few years that they developed themselves, but I haven't played many of them. Marvelous as a publisher should be on the A, but as a JRPG developer, it stays on the C. They need more JRPGs developed by them. Matrix Software. Matrix Software is a company Climax Entertainment created, you know, after they went through several changes. Let's leave it at that. Matrix Software did the Alundra games, and they also made Dual Hearts, which is a spiritual successor to the Alundra games. But these guys started porting a lot of Dragon Quest games on the Nintendo DS, stuff like that. They are the ones responsible for many of those ports. So as developers, they're great, but I'm gonna put them on the B, specifically because of one little game called Brigandine: The Legend of Runertia. They did not develop the first one on the PlayStation. These guys were fans of that game, and they decided to revive the series by bringing us this sequel, which is not a direct sequel. You don't need to play the first one. This is a standalone story, but it's a fantastic, phenomenal strategy RPG. I really like this game, guys, but that's the only game that I really love from this company. I'm not the biggest fan of Alundra, so I'm gonna have to put these guys on the B, like I said. Media Vision are the developers and creators of Wild Arms, and they have co-developed every single Valkyria Chronicles game since the third one. So, oh yeah, these guys are an S. Among other games that I didn't mention, other JRPGs that I didn't mention, but yeah, these guys are awesome. Mistwalker. That's a controversial company because I've lost my respect as a video game developer for Hironobu Sakaguchi. This is the company he made when he left Squaresoft. He developed Blue Dragon on the 360, Lost Odyssey, phenomenal game. The Last Story, it's called The Last Story on the Wii because it was supposed to be his last story, because after that all he did was be an executive producer or creative director or whatever, and now he's pretty much doing nothing but supervising his own company while they keep developing games for phones. Mistwalker is gonna be on the B because of those first games they did. Let's leave it at that. Monolith Soft, Project Cross-Zone 1 and 2, Xenogears, Xenosaga, Xenoblade, this is an S. Okay, moving on to Neverland. Neverland are the developers of Rune Factory. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan of that series, so I can't really rank them higher than C, because the C is the I don't really care for. Remember that? Neverland goes in there. Falcom. Falcom is on the D. Worst freaking company of all time. Come on, guys, it's an S. Falcom is an S. The Trails games, the East games. Yeah, I'm a diehard fan of the series. So yeah. The logo here says NIS America, but in reality I'm ranking Nipponichi Software. NIS America is just the publisher. So Falcom is the developer. Nihon Falcom is their name. Nihon Falcom is the developer of the Trails games and the East games. Several of them have been published by NIS America. But keep in mind I'm ranking Nipponichi Software, the developers of the Disgaea series, and several other JRPGs on the Disgaea universe, like the Soul Nomad, Makai Kingdom, Phantom Brave, stuff like that. So these guys are history. You know, I'm not the biggest Disgaea fan, but these guys have done so many JRPGs that they're freaking history, man. I'm gonna have to give them an S. Nah, I'm just kidding. They go straight to the A. It says NIS America, but it's Nipponichi Software. Keep that in mind. Omega Force. Omega Force, you're probably thinking, what, those guys only make the Samurai Warriors games, the Dynasty Warriors. Yes, but they've also developed a bunch of JRPGs. They also developed, or more likely co-developed, all of those warrior-style games like Zelda, whatever, Hyrule Warriors, I think. It's called Fire Emblem Warriors, but they also made Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, which are action RPGs. They also developed Trinity, Souls of Zilol, an action RPG on the PS3 that's pretty fantastic. But in reality, that's all they do. They do not focus on action RPGs. They mostly focus on their hack and slash Dynasty Warriors games, so I'm gonna give these guys a B. Moving on to Platinum Games. But Platinum Games are like Omega Force. They focus on other genres apart from action RPGs. Action JRPGs that are pretty famous by these guys. Well, Nier Automata, developed by these guys and Yoko Taro and Square Enix. They helped a lot with some of their staff helped with the remaster of Nier Replicant. And they also did Astral Chain, a phenomenal action RPG on the Switch. But yes, let's face it, most of their games are not really RPGs, they're just hack and slash games. But Nier Automata, Astral Chain, just because of those two games, these guys belong in the A. Quest is a defunct company that created the Ogre series, Ogre Battle, Tactics Ogre, and the like. They didn't last very long, unfortunately, and I'm not the biggest fan of the Ogre Battle Saga series. I kinda became a slightly big fan of Tactics Ogre with the remaster, but that's about it. And I really liked March of the Black Queen and Person of Lordly Caliber on the Nintendo 64. But I'm sorry guys, these guys just died too soon, and I'm gonna have to put them on the B. Moving on to Quintet. Quintet are the creators of the famous Quintet trilogy, which are Terranigma, Soul Blazer, and Illusion of Gaia, all on the SNES. They also did Act Racer 1 and 2. I don't see those as RPGs. Maybe you do, I don't. But based on their JRPGs, which are pretty much those three games, and I think that's it, yeah, they also go in the B. So now we have Red Entertainment. Red Entertainment is kind of weird because they are the creators of the Sakura Wars series. But we've only gotten one of those games. We got two. The second one we got on the PS4 was not developed by these guys. They only developed Sakura Wars So Long My Love, which is on the PlayStation 2 and the Wii. And you guys know already that I'm a diehard fan of that game. But, I mean, that's it. They may have co-developed other JRPGs on the Nintendo DS. They worked on Nostalgia on the Nintendo DS, but that wasn't that great of a game. It's a good game, solid, but not that great. Sakura Wars is the only one, and if I was Japanese, maybe I would be a big fan of the entire series, but I'm not. So Red Entertainment stays on the C. Breaks my heart because Sakura Wars So Long My Love is a masterpiece, but that's the only game, man. That's the only game. Moving on to Psychonauts. Psychonauts, later known as Nautilus, are the developers of Shadow Hearts and Kudelka. However, well, the problem is that they've done just that. That's it. The Shadow Hearts games and Kudelka. Kudelka is not that good of a game. Shadow Hearts 1 and 2 are excellent. Shadow Hearts 3 is still a great game. But they need more games, right? And like I said, quality over quantity, yes, sure. But in this tier list, I need more numbers. God damn it, I'm gonna put them on the A because Shadow freaking Hearts. Sega, that's right. Valkyria Chronicles, Phantasy Star, a bunch of other JRPGs that a lot of people don't know about. These guys are an S. Oh yeah, I'm a big Sega fan as a developer. Shift, what the hell is Shift? Well, they are the developers of God Eater. And they also co-developed with Bandai Namco Code Vein, which I'm a big fan of. God Eater 1 and 2, and that's it, okay? God Eater 3 was developed by another company. You wanna know what company I'm talking about? Marvelous Entertainment. They have a brand new first studio and they developed God Eater 3. So maybe because of God Eater 3 and because of Lord of Maga Made in Heaven, Marvelous should be up. Sure, let's move Marvelous to the B. Yeah, sure. You weren't expecting that, were you? And Shift is also on the B, I guess. Yeah, Code Vein, it's an S to me. But God Eater 1 and 2 have a bunch of problems. And like I said, they need more games. That's all they did before they went extinct, I think. Also on the B. Silicon Studio, I'm gonna give these guys a C. Why? Because they only did the Bravely Default series and other JRPGs that I don't really care that much for. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Bravely series, and they didn't even work on Bravely Default 2. Only the first 2 games on the 3DS. Anyway, moving on to Spike Chunsoft. Okay, Chunsoft merged with Spike, who used to develop different types of video games, and then they became Spike Chunsoft, known for the Mystery Chronicle series. Have you guys played Shiren the Wanderer? These are the creators, formerly known as Mystery Dungeon, and they are amazing developers developing the Danganronpa series, but as JRPG developers, they haven't done much. Most of the very few JRPGs that they worked on were co-developed by other companies. Exist Archive is actually one of them, co-developed with Triace. So Spike Chunsoft, man, I love these guys, but just because I love them, I'm gonna give them a B, but they should be on the C because they need to develop more JRPGs by themselves. That's all I'm gonna say. Alright, Square Enix. Square Enix, keep in mind, is not Squaresoft. As you can see down there, I'm ranking them separately. Square Enix as a developer, as a publisher, they probably belong in the S. They have published a lot of fantastic games, some of them among my favorites. Amazing publisher, but amazing developer? Not really. All they've done is pretty much Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. And Dragon Quest, well, it's a mixed bag because most of their games were developed by Chunsoft, like I was mentioning. So the Chunsoft team some of their team went to Spike Chunsoft and others remained on Enix. It's a controversial company. I don't like the Final Fantasy games they have developed with the exception of 12, but that was pretty much developed by Yasumi Matsuno from Quest. Square Enix is a B, and I'm being generous. Hey, move over here. Squaresoft, however, is a mother freaking S. No arguments, no doubt about it, no questions asked. Sting Entertainment. Sting Entertainment are the creators of the Department Heaven series. Most of their games have been released on the PSP. You know, on the Game Boy Advance 2, Yggdra Union, also on the PSP. Riviera, the Promised Land, also on the PSP. Nights in the Nightmares, pretty bad. Gungnir, also on PSP. You know, most of these are great games. But Sting Entertainment also did modern JRPGs, but most of them have been co-developed by other companies. So it's starting to become one of those companies that keep co-developing and not developing anything by themselves anymore. Still, you know, there's not a single game by this company that I really love passionately. Maybe Yggdra Union, but that's a stretch. Sting is another B. Success is a company that's developed some of the hardest JRPGs of all time that I've played in my whole life, including Rondo of Swords on the Nintendo DS and Operation Darkness on the Xbox 360. And these 2 games were released in the same year, in 2007. And now, you know, they developed Soulvars, which is coming out, I think it's out today. It was a mobile game, and it got ported to consoles. But Success co-developed this game with many other small developers. Soulvars is a turn-based RPG that's on Switch, PS4, and everything else, I believe. And I'd like to say that so far, what I've played so far about this game has been pretty interesting. But coming from a company like Success, I fear it's gonna get brutal at some point. Anyway, so yeah, good guys, but maybe I need to put more hours into Soulvars, but based on the other games that are brutally hard and kick my ass and I have a love-hate relationship with, Success is going on the C. Tecmo, I said that I will be ranking them separately. Tecmo, okay, so Tecmo Secret of the Stars, not really a great game. Tecmo, what else have they done? The Deception series, well, most of them are not really RPGs, just the first one on the PlayStation. I'm not really a fan of that game. I actually like the other ones more than the actual RPG. You know, as video game developers of other genres, they are fantastic, but as JRPG developers, they just never stood out. It's another C. Koei and Tecmo both on the C, but together as publishers, they should be on the A, or S even. Telenet Japan. These guys are one of the oldest companies in today's tier list. They've been there since 1983, and they no longer exist. and it's a freaking mess. You can read the entire history of these guys in Wikipedia. It's a mess. It's a subsidiaries, legal issues, name changes, brand changes. It's a mess of a company. But they barely developed any JRPGs by themselves, mostly co-developers, and they helped a lot companies like Atlus get on their feet. Oh yeah, they helped Falcom a little bit too. They helped Kadokawa Games. So yeah, these guys are huge history, guys. But as developers of JRPGs, they just don't stand out. So Hellnet Japan, historically speaking, they're amazing. But as JRPG developers, which is today's ranking tier list, another C. Tokyo RPG Factory, I'm gonna put these guys on the B. Why? Because I loved every single one of their games, but there are only 3. I Am Setsuna, fantastic game. Lost Sphere, another fantastic game, and Oninaki. And that's their last game, Oninaki. I don't know what's going on. They were pretty active in the late 10s of this new century. But in the 20s, they've done nothing and they are completely quiet and silent and we know nothing about them. I hope they come back one of these days. Tokyo RPG Factory, a B. Tri-Ace, creators of Valkyrie Profile, Star Ocean. These guys are an S. I mean, come on, people. These guys are an S. Tri-Ace. Tri Crescendo. Well, Tri Crescendo, they have barely developed any games of their own. They co-developed with Monolith Soft, Baten Kaitos 1 and 2. They did Eternal Sonata, and which I freaking loved passionately. Amazing game. And, I mean, these guys are another S. Man, Tri Crescendo. Amazing company. Vanillaware is one of my personal favorites. Odin's Sphere, Dragon's Crown, Muramasa. Grim Grimoire is not really an RPG, but yeah, 13 Sentinels, another S, goddammit. Yeah, Vanillaware. Oh yeah. And last but not least, we've got Wolf Team. Pretty famous company from back in the day. They no longer exist. They created a lot of video games, but what about JRPGs? Well, they are the developers of Tales of Fantasia. And then later after that, the team got separated. The remaining of the team was renamed as Namco Tales Studio. And then the other remainder of the team was named Tri-Ace. Oh yeah. But as Wolf Team, they've only developed that one game. Many others, but they're only JRPG. I think they did something else, some other JRPGs that stayed in Japan. But Tales of Fantasia is Tales of freaking Fantasia. And that's it. A B. Because of Namco Tales Studio, damn it. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's my tier list of every single JRPG developer that I can think of. I'm pretty sure I missed some of them. We only got Hitmaker on the D, a bunch of guys on the C and B, on the A, and several developers on the S tier. That's great. That's just freaking great. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!